continue to learn more on the Keys to Living Well, the book written by Verbal Master Xing Yun. So for those of you who join me in the spring term, you already get this book. We actually have like two versions of the same title, the same book. The one with the Verbal Masters on the book cover, that is the first version of the Keys to Living Well. This is the second edition of Keys to Living Well. The contents wise, they're all the same. Okay, so for those of you who received my email 2 days ago, you will have an access to the syllabus. But then for those who haven't received my email, it's okay. For today, I'll go through everything as it is our first class together. For the Keys to Living Well, I will basically be sharing what Verbal Master has shared in this book, and then I will try to give examples and further analyze and also sharing with everyone in terms of how I see this this topic. Okay, and I also hope that every one of us here, whether in person or virtually, if you have any questions or comments, you can always raise your hands and we can always discuss. So it's more of like a discussion than a teacher-student class. Okay, so as a start, we are going to look at the article of how to conduct ourselves. You want me to use the microphone? Is it better? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So the class format, because some of us are coming from other places, and I know some of you are at home, clicking on the computer and zoom in from so many different places. So usually we start with 5 minutes of silent meditation, try to gather our mind, try to focus on mind. And let me go through the format first. Okay. And then after a 5-minute silent meditation, we will start with the topic of discussion based on the syllabus that I will share later on. And then usually I will leave about like 10 to 15 minutes towards the end of the class. If you have any comments, any questions or clarification that is needed, that will be the time for everyone to share and to discuss. And we will end our class at 4 o'clock Pacific time. So for those of you joining me from different time zone, I have also included the time zone converter so that you know what time it is locally. And then in terms of the syllabus, I also shared with everyone via the Google Classrooms. For those of you with a Google account, you'll be able to access the Google Classrooms where you will see the syllabus. And even after today's class, you'll be able to review this class again because it is recorded. And then in the future, if you were to miss 1 or 2 classes, you can always review them in the Google Classrooms. So for today, we're going to talk about how to conduct ourselves. And then next Saturday, we're going to look at the topic of the 6 secrets of getting along. Okay. And then afterwards, the 3 Saturdays in October, I will not be in. There's a conference going on in FoGuangHuB, where there's a BLIA conference, annual general meeting there, and followed by visits to our FoGuangHuB temples. So I will not be here in person for these classes. So for the Keys to Living Well classes, we do not have class on these 3 dates, October 7, 14, and 21. Okay. And then the class that we are going to resume is October 28, live through the mirror, followed by life is like driving a car. And November 11 is where we have our annual Medicine Buddha prayer service. so we do not have class. And the syllabus continues. November 18, we're going to look at how to view people. And the following Saturday, people are like horses. Okay, interesting topic, yeah. And then the major problem of being humans, that is not an option, but we'll see how Verbal Master has explained. Okay. And of course, the last class that we have for this year is actually reading the topic on keys to living well. And then because this class is part of our Northern America classes, so it's called FoGuangHuB. So the classes that we have, Keys to Living Well, is just one of the 4 classes that we offered. Okay, so you might see classes like the meditation practice that is in the morning on Saturday. Please do not get confused. That is led by Verbal Hui Cheng from Shilai Temple in LA. Okay, so sometimes like people get confused, like why our classes here in San Diego is 2 p.m. And this is a slight clarification that I would like to raise this up. The 2 p.m. meditation that we have is just locally in San Diego in person. We do not have the option of online. For those of you living outside of LA, Shilai Temple, you'll be able to attend meditation class with Verbal Hui Cheng on Saturday morning. So that is also part of the FoGuangHuB classes. That is just to further explain and clarify based on the confusion that I come across from people who sign up for these different classes. Okay? So before we start with going to discuss on the topic of how to conduct ourselves, let us give ourselves a moment for silent meditation. Just try to gather our thoughts, our mind. Okay. Let us just put aside whatever that we have in our mind, whatever that we have been doing before this class. Let's just gently close our eyes. If you have glasses, you can remove your glasses. Just try to collect and redirect thoughts and mind to just being present, being aware of each breath that we take. Let us slowly taking a few deep breaths. Just gently open our eyes and go ahead and rub your palms together. Cover our palms on our eyes, top of our head, over our ears to the back of our neck. Okay, put back your glasses if you have one. Okay. Okay. So, welcome back. Okay. So for today, we're going to look into the topic on how to conduct ourselves. Okay. As an introduction, Verbal Monster mentioned that we sometimes struggle in understanding and empathizing others' feelings and perspectives due to ignorance in observing, listening, and eagerness within ourselves. Okay. So based on this sentence, oftentimes besides uh, requiring ourselves what we can do, what we should do, most of the time we are actually requesting others to listen to us. Okay. So usually we might come across people saying that, can't you just listen to me? Okay. Have you heard this sentence before? Okay. And then this is very common. It is because we often want to require others to go with our ideas, to go with our thoughts, to go to listen to us. Okay. But for this topic, we're actually looking at ourselves, how to conduct ourselves. Okay. So we know we have to be considerate of others. Okay. Sometimes we put that aside, but we constantly remind ourselves to be considerate of others, know what we can and cannot do, teach people what we know, and establish good interpersonal relationship. Okay, so this is the importance of how we should conduct ourselves. Okay, it is because most of the time we require and asking others to do certain things for ourselves, to listen to us, to follow our way. But for us to conduct ourselves well, we actually need to be mindful of what we do and what we say and what we think in our mind. So consideration or compassion, that is the key. Okay? That is one of the ways for us to establish good relationship, interpersonal relationships. However, the difficulties lies in whether we are willing to accept our disadvantages and serve others. Sometimes change can be difficult, even when we understand the benefits of conducting ourselves differently. So why is it difficult for us to accept who we are, the things that we want to change? Okay, let me give an example. Sometimes we ourselves is a little bit fast-tempered, okay? Or take, for example, a person that is easily get angry, okay? Sometimes we're not aware of it. There's even a story where this A usually get angry at others whenever things are not going according to what he wants, okay? However, when people say that, oh, don't get angry, don't get angry, and this A will say that, who is angry? Okay. Which means that the person, even ourselves, sometimes there's hatred or angriness or frustration within our mind. We're not aware of it. Okay. It is because we follow our habitual tendencies. We follow our habits. Okay. When things happen and not going as according to what we want, okay, we just follow with what we used to react, the way that we used to react. Okay, then things, it will be very hard for us to accept it. It is because we are not aware of it in the first place. Okay, so that's the reason why for us to look into the ways in how to conduct ourselves, it is very important for us to have the awareness first, to be aware of the things that we should not do unto others. Okay, only then we'll be able to make changes. Okay, so among the 4 points that Verbal Master shared with us, the first point is be someone who help others. Okay, so many young people today abide by the principle, service is the purpose of life. I'm not sure if any one of you come across this sentence. Okay, service is the purpose of life. Okay, so take for example, okay, the story of Samuel. He is a young man who often helped the whole community, the whole neighborhood. Okay, whenever he sees like the trash can being knocked off by someone accidentally, he will help to sweep the trash and put back in the bin. If you were to see like there was like graffiti somewhere here and there, he helped the neighbors to clean the graffiti. Okay. And then there was one time that this neighbor just newly moved from another city, come here. They were so curious why Samuel is constantly helping others. Okay. So Samuel has this motto in his life of service is the purpose of life. Okay. When we serve others, we find meaning and joy in our own lives, said Samuel. And we build connection and we create a sense of belonging and make the world a better place. Okay. So when we serve, when we help others, okay, we will be able to bond better affinities and connection with others. But however, in today's society, one likes to make things difficult for others and enjoy inconvenience of others. Okay. So Christina, can you help me turn on the AC? Which is the right one. It is, yeah, the bottom. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So the VLIA here in San Diego is like doing barbecuing outside. So that's why this room is filled with carbon dioxide a little bit. So I need to air out. Yeah. So, okay. So with this, the dog and the little puppy is just a reminder of how we can be someone who help others. Okay, it doesn't mean that this dog actually holding the basket, but when it comes to kindness and compassion, it is not just within our family, but also within the whole community, the whole neighborhood. When we see things, we say things. Okay, for example, at the temple, there was one occasion where our water main, which is right in front of the temple, it was burst. Okay, and then there were water everywhere on the street. Okay, so when we discovered it, when we opened the door, when we saw the water flowing, it has been already flowing for some time. So when we called the city said that, oh, before you, there were like 3 or 4 people already called to turn off the water main. So what I'm trying to say is that the community here, our neighbors, they have the heart to help others. Okay, when they see something, they say something. When they see something that needs to put in action, if they see anything suspicious, okay, they will try to call the authorities. The same goes to the examples of the leak and the burst in the water main. If we were to wait until we see it, it's already a lot of water that has gone into waste. Okay. We are very thankful for our neighbors who called before us so that the dispatcher can come faster or earlier to turn off the water main. Okay. So the first point of be someone who help others, it doesn't mean that we have to have something in mind in order to help others. When we help others, we're not looking for a return, but it is just a way for us to practice our life. Okay. So in the article, Verbal Master mentioned that competent people will generally respond by saying, okay, okay. Whereas incompetent, did I pronounce correctly? Incompetent people will usually turn others down by saying no and no. So for us to be someone who is always there to help others, we have to start practicing by saying okay. So what does it mean? If we were being asked to help to do certain things, so what is the usual reply that you will say?
Okay.
Okay or no? Or depends. Okay. So Verbal Master, throughout his whole life, okay, even though he's no longer here, but throughout his whole life, he has a philosophy of a life of okay. Okay, okay. Okay. It is because in his life, he always look at the life of okay in giving. Whenever within his capabilities, when he can share, when he can give, he will always give and share. Okay. When it comes to a life of okay, it is a life of willing to sacrifice, a life where everything is simple and all problems are easily resolved. This is what Verbal Master mentioned about the life of okay. And the life of okay is a life without distinction between close and distance. It doesn't mean that, oh, your best friend asks for a favor from you. Only then you say okay. If a stranger passes by who asks for your help, you would say, depends. Let me think about it. Okay. There's still a distinction between close and distance. But when we practice a life of okay, no matter who they are, if we have the capabilities, abilities to help others, we can always say, okay, we can do it, we can help. And of course, it is for wholesomeness action. It is not like someone asks you to go with him and rob a bank, for example. We won't do that. Okay, it is an extreme example, but I just want to mention that sometimes when it comes to okay, it doesn't mean that everything is okay. We have to know what is wholesome and what is the things that we shouldn't do. Okay, so and of course, when it comes to the life of okay, it is a great compassion within ourselves. We also learn from the Bodhisattvas. Okay, in answering the requests from everyone, whenever we can, we just try to help. Okay, and of course, for us to be able to help others, we have to be considerate not only of what others request us to do, but we have to consider whether we have the ability to help others or not. Okay, that comes with the questions of self-compassion, where we have to balance and practice the middle path. Okay, it doesn't mean that if a person asks your help to do certain things that is so good, that is wholesome, and but then yourself, you're already physically so tired, then you won't be saying okay. You have to be balanced and try to consider other factors. Okay? So, but then we just try to be a person who is very supportive, who can help others whenever we can. Okay. So, but when it comes to life, okay, life sometimes is just like this lily pad. Can you see the lily? Yeah. I took a photo of this when I visited Huntington Library just a few months ago. So this picture reminds me of our life, okay, that is full with moments, okay, good moments, bad moments. This is how we label it, but it's just full of moments. Some are peaceful, some are destructive. But if we remember that everything, even the destructions, eventually settle back into place, we can find peace within ourselves. It's not about denying the challenges. It is about knowing that they too will pass. Okay? Not only we live in a life that we try to support others, but sometimes we have to be aware of ourselves. Okay? And when it comes to our lives, it's just like a lot of ups and downs. Okay? But we just try to learn and remind ourselves, just like the lily pads, okay, the leaves. It's always floating above the water. If there's movement in the water, what will happen to the leaves? It just move with it. It's always on top of it. It won't be struggling and sunk into the bottom or go up high up. It just remain above the water. It's very similar to surfing, okay? In San Diego or even in Hawaii or any one of us like living close to the coast, to the ocean. Life is just like surfing. Sometimes there's big waves, sometimes it's small waves, but no matter how big or small the waves is, we learn how to surf with the wave. Okay, so that is considering how we can be someone who help others, but at the same time, we have to understand the whole situation, the whole conditions that we are in, and including others. Okay, so this is the first point that Verbal Master would like to mention in terms of how we should conduct ourselves. And the second point that Verbal Master uh, reminds us and share with us is be someone who is accommodating and does not follow blindly. So all things in this world results from having the right causes and conditions coming together. In dealing with others, if something does not meet our wishes, we should still be accommodating so that we will not be left out. So what does it mean on the second paragraph here? It doesn't mean that if we indulge in self-admiration or if someone were to do something that is unwholesome, okay, we will just follow suit. It is not. That is when the second sentence does not follow blindly comes into light. We just have to consider what is good and what is not. Okay? So if we indulge in self-admiration, we will find it difficult to get support anywhere we go. So if we think that in this world, it is just ourselves and we are the highest, the best, we won't be able to have the community, have the sense of togetherness for us to be in this society. Okay? So if we are dealing with malicious people who is always intent on doing harm, we should not follow the examples. Just like the examples I mentioned earlier, if someone were to ask you to go and rob the bank, you won't want to do that. Or if people ask us to do certain things that is not good, we have to consider what is good and what is not. Okay? And we shouldn't be someone who follow it blindly, but we just try to accommodate for the whole group and the needs of others, if possible. Like for example, in today's society, there are a few things that we should consider before we follow others. Okay, so like for example, social norms. What are the social norms today? Social norms is when many individuals, many people conform to societal norms and expectation without considering their own personal values or beliefs. Okay, and that could involve the cultural aspects, the religions aspects, or even like other social practices. Um, it, even though if they might seem to be widely accepted, but for us, whether to follow or not, we have to consider whether we should do it or we should not follow it. One is the social norms. The second one is the peer pressure. Peer pressure is not just during the school days, but also even today when in your workplace. There's a constant peer pressure within your whole community, within your business or your workplace there's always competition among yourself. And the peer might say that, oh, I have this. How come you don't have it? Okay, this is peer pressure. But for us to see and know things that others have, it doesn't mean that we need it. Like for example, I just came back from Taiwan like 3 days ago. Okay, I'm a little bit jet lagging here. But anyway, this is not an excuse. But what I'm trying to say is I have some time to go to, like prepare and get things ordered for next year for the temple. So as I was looking at all the lists, I was asking myself, is it a need for me to buy this? Or it is just what I want to buy this? Okay. So even though other temples are buying it, okay, with their skills, like the skill, like they are bigger temples, they order like over thousands of the same thing. Okay. But for me, I would consider what is the needs of our temple here. Okay. Different skills, different needs. But sometimes when we are having peer, quote unquote, peer pressure, we have to think for ourselves, what is our needs? Those are really our necessities. Are they those the needs? Or it is just my wants? I just want to go with the peer pressure, just go along with whatever others are doing. Okay. If I were to do that, then I will follow blindly, not knowing what is sufficient and what is too much. Okay. And of course, that follows with the idea of consumerism. Okay. It's just like every one of us, when you go to the supermarket, do you have a shopping list? Do you go with our shopping list? Yes. Or you go off the shopping list? So this is the question that we ask ourselves. Okay. So, and then that goes back with what we are going to discuss. How do we conduct ourselves? Okay, be someone who is accommodating, or we just follow blindly. Okay, follow blindly is not only follow others, it's not just following the social norms, but sometimes we might follow blindly based on our greed, okay, based on our wants. Okay, the same goes to the question that I ask everyone when we go to a supermarket. Do we follow as per what we have in a shopping list? And of course, like sometimes you will come across, oh, this is on sale, and then you need it. But then others within your household, it could be your husband, your wife, your parents, they say that, oh, nah, you don't need that. But then you will say that, but then it's on sale. Should we get it? There's always the communication within the family. Okay. But then by the end of the day, when we get the things back home, we just realize that we don't really need it. So what should we do? Okay. So this is something that we should consider. And the next one is the media influence. This is like, I won't be able to go into details because it might raise some questions or discussion a little bit more than what we want to focus here. Because media influence today is so strong. Sometimes it's hard for us to tell whether it is true or not. Okay? Whether it is the news reporting, whether it's the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, or is truth plus not so true. Okay, so the media influence, it could be from the social media, the television, advertising, marketing, anything, or political views, fashion trends, lifestyle choices, and so on and so forth. Everything is within the media influence. Okay, something for us to be aware and something for us to consider before making our decision. Okay, and of course, the last one that is in the slide is authority figures. Okay. People may follow the directives of authority figures, such as our parents, teachers, or political leaders, without considering whether their guidance aligns with their own values or reasoning. Okay, so sometimes I'm not pinpointing anyone here, but I'm just sharing what is on the slides. Okay, so it is something for us to consider when it comes to authority figures. Just like even the Buddha, our teacher, when he shared with us what he has realized, he shared with us the teachings. The Buddha said that don't just follow what I say. You have to learn and try to practice it and think for yourself and see if it is true to what I say. Okay. And the examples, the parable that the Buddha usually give is like, if I were to say I have gems in my hand, do you just believe it? Or you have to wait until I open my hands and see it for yourself. The same goes to the reality of life. The same goes to the teachings that we learn from the Buddha. Sometimes when it comes to our understanding, our learning based on the books, the text, the sutras, sometimes we might have different interpretation based on what the Buddha said. But no matter how we interpret it or how we understand it, when we learn from the books, when we learn from teachers, when we learn from others, we have to think for ourselves. We have to practice it and see if it works for us or not. We do not follow blindly. Okay, we just try to reflect in our everyday life. And the good thing about the Buddha's teachings or the Dharma is it is not only valid in what the Buddha said, it is also applicable and we can see it for ourselves in our everyday life. Okay, for example, impermanence or changes in life. Do you experience impermanence right now? Yes. Anyone say no? Then I would say, are you breathing? That is impermanence. That is changes. Okay. And impermanence not only applies here to ourselves, here on planet Earth, it applies across the universe. It applies everywhere. So that's the reason why it is the reality. What the Buddha realized is the truth of life. It's not just based on what he said. It's not just based on what he experienced. It is based on the truth that is already there, with or without the Buddha's sharing, with or without the Buddha's enlightenment. The truth, the reality is always there. Okay. So again, be someone, what was it again? Be someone who is accommodating but does not follow blindly. This is the second point that Verbal Master would like to share in terms of how we should conduct ourselves. So the third point is be someone who emulates, right? The virtuous emulates. Did I pronounce correctly? Emulate, you know? Emulate, thank you. Emulates the virtues. So Confucius, one of the great teachers, almost the same time as the Buddha, once said, within a group of three, there's always one who can serve as my teacher. And of course, like the common verse that most of us know is in every trio, that's typically one who can enlighten me. So what does it mean? Everyone around us, everyone besides us, okay, they could be our teacher. Okay, he or she could be someone that we can learn from. Okay, it doesn't mean that it has to be three. Okay, it's just a way of saying. Okay, it could be our friends, it could be our neighbors, it could be our teachers, it could be the little ones in our family. Okay, they could be our teacher too. Okay, so when they act improperly, we can also reflect on their mistakes. Okay, so which means that every one of us, okay, we are all learning together, and person besides us could be our teacher, and we can also be the teacher. But for ourselves, it doesn't mean that it is nothing for us to learn. There's always something for us to learn. Okay, but someone who emulates, right? Emulates the virtues. Okay, there are many people that we can think of that we can learn from. Okay, and of course, like the ones that we might know is like the Buddha or Mahatma Gandhi. It could be anyone else that you can think of. Anyone, someone with virtues. Okay, so one of it is the founder of FoGuangHuB, Purple Master Xing Yun. Okay, um, some of you might not know when he started sharing the teachings when he was like 20 plus. Okay? When he was standing on the podium, he was actually shaking. Like what do you call that? Stage fright, right? Okay. Yeah. So we might not know that even Verbal Master has that moment. He was still 20 plus, he was still young. Okay. But whether when he was still young or later in his life, every time after the lecture, every time when he shared the Dharma, when he finished sharing the Dharma, he will come down and talk to the disciples, okay, around him and ask everyone if there's anything that I should improve in, if there's anything that I say is not proper. Okay. To us, Verbal Master is our teacher, is someone that we learn of, but he's being very virtuous and humble because he knew that even himself, he has blind spot. He has things that he's not aware of, but he's hoping that the people around him can pinpoint and share with him what are the things that he can improve. Okay, so when this picture here, we know that when Verbal Master first come to Taiwan, he started sharing the Dharma in Yilan, which is one of the rural place in northern side of Taiwan, and then slowly moving down, okay, to the Taiwan island to the south. Okay, this building here is in Kaohsiung, the southern part of Taiwan, and this is a Buddhist college. Okay. So based on the 5 floors that this building has, the first 3 floors are all for the whole community. It's like a community center for people to come. The first floor is the tea room where people can dine in, have some tea or coffee. And second floor is the main shrine. It's just like our main shrine, but this is slightly smaller. And the main shrine is also a place for the whole community. It is because uh, any day of the time when we are open, everyone is welcome to come to the main shrine and meditate, do your prayers, to have a moment of silence. Everyone can come. Okay, so it is considered like the community center. And the third floor is the art gallery. It's like the museum. Okay, only then the fourth and fifth floor is Buddhist college. And if you can see from the picture, you can tell that the fourth and fifth floor is just half of the whole floor, which is from the first until the third floor. With that small area, Verbal Monster started to have the Buddhist college where people can learn more about the Buddhism. It started off with 60 people, and then eventually it grows into 80 people, 80 students, and then it continued to grow into 100 students until that the capacity can no longer hold it. But throughout the whole process of growing the population of the students, one of the key points here is that why there's a sudden growth in the student body. It is because Verbal Master is constantly sharing and learning from each other. Okay? Not only he shared the teachings about the Buddha, the teachings and practices of the Buddha, but he also shared his personal experience And with his personal experience, not only he shared it, but he listened to others. He listened to the input of others. And that's the reason why through the whole community of Wangshan, people can feel the respect of each other. It's not just someone who is of authority that is up there, but it is a community learning together. So learning from the teacher, um, there was one occasion when Verbal Master was still young, when he was like a little bit over 10 years old. We know that he renounced at the age of 12 years old. As a little boy, he renounced and become a monk. And then at the age of 15, he fully renounced and become a fully ordained monk. And there were a few years that he was learning in a Buddhist college in China. And through the observation of the teacher who taught in classes, there was one teacher who came in and started writing on the board. Okay, from the very start of the class until the end of the class, nonstop writing on the board. Okay, to many of us, we say, "What? What is this teacher doing? Why is this teacher continually like writing on the board, not saying anything?" Imagine that I'll keep on talking and talking and talking and not listening and not sharing anything. Okay. So, but then to Verbal Master, through this observation, he taught himself not to be like this teacher. In the future, when he was teaching, he won't be writing straight off the board, but he tried to share in a very interactive ways with the audience. Even throughout his whole lecture, he tried to share with everyone different stories, different parables, and make things easier for people to understand. Okay, based on this example, what I'm trying to share with everyone is that when we see something that is there's still room for improvement, okay, we learn from it so that we won't do it, we won't follow it. Okay? If we see someone who is very good in at something, we learn from that person and continue to grow from there. So that's reason why for in terms of how we should conduct ourselves, the third point is be someone who emulates the virtues. Okay, sometimes it's trying to learn new words every day. Okay, the fourth point is be someone who is happy and detached from worries. Okay, this is I think this is a pretty hard one. Well, we were not born into this world to bear suffering and worries. So we should not live with a long face. Do you know what is a long face? You know, like sour face. Usually we say sour face. Yeah? Okay. Every day dwelling in sorrow, worries, and disappointments. Okay. And we should try to create an optimistic, progressive, and joyful personality with liveliness and laughter. However, in this life, okay, there's always things when we learn to live in happiness and distance ourselves from worries, sorrow, and trouble, life will indeed be more meaningful and valuable. However, okay, sometimes we are being entangled by the worries every day. Okay. Let me ask everyone, any one of us here who is without worries? Anyone? Anyone from the online? I won't be able to see it, but Phyllis will be able to help me see it. Okay. So again, this is a question that it's a reminder for ourselves. Okay. Every day when we wake up in the morning, there are always things that we are worried about. Okay, worry about this and that, worry about whether there's a sunny day or rainy days. It's just like next Saturday, we're going to have the event called Under the Moon, where we celebrate Mid-Autumn Festival, where families, friends, relatives, or neighbors come together. We meet, connect, and spend the evening together by appreciating the music and saying prayers to our families. And we end the evening with offering of light. So when I came home, the moment that I stepped out of the plane 3 days ago, I realized that the weather here has changed because in Taiwan it is hot, humid, and raining from time to time, but it's like overall hot, over 80 degrees every single day. Whether it's nighttime, morning is over 80. But when I step foot back in Ontario or like the airport, it was so cold. I was like, what? Is it really fall now? And then like yesterday, it started raining. Surprisingly, okay, because usually here in San Diego we have rain only during winter, yeah. So I start worrying about next Saturday, this coming Saturday, will it rain? Because it will be outdoor event in the evening. So I try to be, happy. I try to contemplate on the causes and conditions and changes in the weather, but sometimes worries just come and just pop up, mind. But the good thing about that is when we learn and more about the Buddha's teachings, when we learn more about dependent origination, how the causes and conditions that comes about, we just try and pray and hope that the causes and conditions are as according to what we plan. If not, that's always plan B. Okay. So this is how we keep ourselves happy and detached from worries is by understanding all the possibilities, and we just try to have different alternatives and try not to be entangled with the worries that we have, with the sufferings or the stress or the things that we somehow we thought that is just the exit in a corner of the wall, but it is not. We can always turn around to find another way. Okay? The same goes to our lives. Sometimes we are overwhelmed with so many happenings in our lives. Okay? Sometimes we got stuck. But then again, when we are aware, we can always turn around. We can always try to look for an alternative. Okay? As long as we can view these happenings as just an happening, okay? It is not good or bad. And try to be optimistic, and we'll be able to overcome and detach ourselves from worries. To conclude, okay, being aware of how we conduct ourselves requires self-awareness, effort, and a commitment to personal growth. We should try our best in conducting ourselves appropriately in various situations, involves displaying good manners, respect for others, and adhering to social norms and ethical principles. So again, the 4 points that Verbal Master has shared with us: be someone who helps others, be someone who is accommodating and does not follow blindly. And the 3rd point, be someone who emulates the virtues. And the 4th point is be someone who is happy and detached from worries. Okay. And for those of you who would like to read the article, if you haven't done so, it's on page 27 to 28 in the second edition of the book. Okay. And I have 2 questions for everyone to think about it. The first question is more of like self-contemplation. We should ask ourselves from time to time, am I mindful of the impact of my words and actions on others? And how can I improve in this regard? Okay. So from time to time, we should be aware of what we say. We should be aware of what we do. And how does that impact others? If it is not in a good way, we ask ourselves how we can do better the next time. And the second question that I would like to ask everyone is how do I balance self-care with caring for the well-being of those around me? And where can I make improvements? Okay, so I posted out this question on the Google Classrooms so that you can feel free to comment and share your views or your experiences in the whole class. Okay, and I know that I have gone over the time a little bit for Q&A. Before I have the Q&A, let me do a quick announcement. Next class, it'll be September 30th, where we will discuss on the 6 secrets to getting along. So the 1 is the first edition with the pages, and 2 is the second edition with the pages. And next Friday, we have Thank Buddha is Friday online, where we have invited Verbal Miao from the Philippines to talk about the 3 acts of goodness in the holistic education. And just like what I mentioned, next Saturday, for those of you here in San Diego, we have an event in the evening called Under the Moon, Meet and Connect with the University Heights family. So, okay, let me stop sharing for a little bit. Ooh, how come it's so dark? Okay. Anyone has any comments or any feedbacks from based on what I shared? For those of you in person, you can help yourself by sitting in the hot seat there. How about anyone from online? Any comments? Anyone? Wow, okay. I hope that I don't bore everyone. Okay, if not, let me continue to share. The last one is dedication merit. If everyone can join our palms, if you can see it. Okay. Let's do dedication merit. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May chant, Pure-Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great wealth. So I pray and hope that everyone has a great week and be safe and healthy. I'll see everyone next Saturday, and thank you. If you have any comments or anything you would like to share that you have thought of later on, please feel free to post it on the Google Classroom or you can email me. And thank you again, and thanks to Phyllis for being the tech support and do the video recording. Thank you. I'll see you next Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable.
Take care. Bye-bye.